Welcome to this time for Conservative Voice Radio, your Tea Party show on KMET 1490 AM. I'm your host, Douglas V. Gibbs. In the studio in Cherry Valley, we have the members of the Banning Beaumont Cherry Valley Tea Party, Glenn, Peter, Jen, and Diane. And segment one, Jen, you say, let's salute 10 years of the Tea Party. Has it been that long?
Yes, it has. And I have to tell you, I was at one of the first nationwide tea parties in 2009. And it was absolutely grassroots. We had no leader. It was on the internet, and we decided we went to Palm Desert. And at the time, we carried a homemade sign, and it was prophetic. I need to go into the fortune-telling business because you know what the sign said? It was the International No Sign for Socialism. And here we are. Okay, 10 years later. But I want to tell you what we've done. We are not dead. Rand Paul got up recently and said the Tea Party is dead. And I couldn't believe it. And I thought, oh, yeah, you're a libertarian. What would you know? We have been working our butts off. Let me give you some stats. In fact, we're all going to we're going to show off, and we're going to tell you what we've been doing. There have been more than 850 tax day tea parties since 2009. There was a 9/12 Taxpayers March on D.C. with over 1.5 million people. We did a Code Red Obamacare rally in 2009. We organized Farmer Relief and Freedom Relay in 2009. We stood for healthcare freedom because of the encroachment that we felt with the new administration, the Obama administration. There was a national fly around visiting 18 states in 15 days to help get out the vote. We visited 30,000 homes in Wisconsin to help defeat the recall efforts in 2012. We sponsored and hosted 2012 Republican presidential primary debate on CNN in South Carolina. And we were part of the production of The Determinators, which is a documentary about healthcare freedom. We participated in a statewide coalition in Washington, organized walkers who visited 50,000 voters to oppose tax increases. We produced the Making of America video series and training handbook, distributed it to 600 local groups. We've had nationwide rallies in key states. We helped lead to successfully block an amnesty bill by the famous Gang of Eight. We did a production of Border States of America documentary, and we helped pass the USA Freedom Act. Peter, you want to?
Yeah, let me continue this list. This is an extensive list, and I'm impressed already, but we're only halfway through it. This next one is, I think, is really important. The Tea Party helped expose the IRS targeting of specific groups, Tea Party groups, and Tea Party supporters.
That's a good one, Peter.
Delivered the Constitution Day educational materials to hundreds of public schools nationwide.
I like that one.
Yeah, addressed nationally on Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and Mark Levin. They're huge backers of the Tea Party. The creation of the Yellow Card Project, which was big. Working for a balanced budget through the Penny Plan, which even Senate Budget Committee Chairman Mike Enzi has supported. Worked to end the Iran deal rally, which was huge. At the end, then candidate Donald Trump spoke, and President Trump now has removed us from the Iran deal. Also delivered 1.5 million signed petitions urging Obamacare's repeal to the White House with Leader McConnell and various congressional offices in 2017. We supported tax reform and helped pass President Trump's tax reform plan by building an outside coalition to support passage in 2017. We produced a television ad featuring Art Laffer explaining the similarities of President Trump's proposed tax reform plan to the successful Ronald Reagan Tax Reform Act that Dr. Laffer helped author more than 3 decades ago. We help support President Trump's effort to reduce 14 regulations for every one new regulation through petitions and commitments to various regulatory agencies. We organized free speech marches outside the Supreme Court for healthcare freedom, for border security, for religious freedom related to Obamacare. Helped high school students organize 500 and more Stand for the Second Amendment walkout on May 2nd, 2018. And a co-led coalition with Senator David Perdue, former Senator Jim DeMitt, to make Congress work again, leading the U.S. Senate, adding days to work sessions in August 2018 to address spending issues. These are all huge issues.
Diane?
Okay, here's some more. Here's some more, folks. Produced and validated The Shredding of the U.S. Patent System, a documentary about patent rights, available on Amazon Prime and iTunes, and which has won the Best Documentary Award at Freedom Fest in July 2019. Organized 422 Stop Socialism, Choose Freedom rallies.
We did that here in Beaumont.
Nationwide on April 15th, 2019.
Right.
Helped flip the House in 2010, the Senate in 2014, and the White House in 2016. Hallelujah. Helped hold the Senate in 2018. Hallelujah for that. Supported the confirmations of Justices Neil Gorsuch, 2017, and Brett Kavanaugh, 2018, to the Supreme Court through House parties, press conferences, protests, rallies, calls, and postcards to the U.S. Senate, and letters to editors. Produce and air a weekly Facebook Live broadcast where we share important political and legislative news with our activists and answer their questions about the topics of the day. Hosted and sponsored local leaders in 16 leadership summits in D.C., Atlanta, Denver, and Phoenix, average 1.5 years, with live feed for those who could not travel to attend virtually. Awarded a $3.5 million in grants to local groups for issue-based Get Out the Vote, issue-based voter guides, constitutional principle training, election integrity projects, creation of neighborhood newspapers, which we're going to have, launch of radio programs, launch of self-governance training programs, and more. Trained and mentored 3,000 and local leaders and activists through personal interaction in all 50 states, plus Japan, Australia, Italy, Germany, and the UK. Held and continue to hold over 1,125 webinars and over 5,000 conference calls with local leaders and activists to train and educate, answer their questions, solicit their feedback, and take their direction. And we sponsored 250 plus state and local conferences. Examples include Western Conservative Summit, Young Americans for Liberty, Red State, Freedom Fest, CPAC, Faith and Freedom, Glenn Beck's Man on the Moon, South Carolina Tea Party Conference, Pennsylvania Leadership Conference, and many more. Built, issued, based coalitions with allies in D.C., including Freedom Works, Media Research Center, Heritage Foundation, Club for Growth, Citizens United, and many more.
Yes, and the list goes on. This all started in 2009 under George Bush and Obama when they used the federal money to bail out Wall Street. Another one, continuing the list, organized 6,000 house parties on health care freedom, tax reform, free market, immigration, patents, property rights, judicial nominees, the Second Amendment, and self-governance. Sponsored and helped organize 750 plus trainings focused on campaigning, voter integrity, grassroots organization, self-governments, and constitutional principles. Build a list of over 3 million supporters, including 1.5 million Facebook fans, 600,000 phone numbers, 1.5 million mailing addresses, and 650 email addresses. Develop nationwide leadership teams of 800 plus local leaders and support super activists. Attended over 6,500 town hall meetings with members of Congress and 25,000 plus meetings and town halls of local town councils, school boards, and state legislatures. Coordinated with local leaders and activists, over 20,000 visits to local D.C. House and Senate offices. Supported and created calls for action and toolkits for House Freedom Caucus and Senate Steering Committee legislative efforts. Attended briefings and meetings at the White House with administration officials, including Donald Trump. Organized a private White House briefing for 100 TPPA activists. Distributed over 100,000 plus pocket constitutions and constitutional coloring books. Attended meetings with President Trump at the White House, including 3 small group meetings with President Trump, 2 of which were at the Oval Office, 2 speeches from the president in the Rose Garden, and social media summit, and the ceremony swearing in of the Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. Began educating activists about the Chinese military and economic aggression. Began educating on the failures of socialism in other countries through production of first mini documentary socialism stories, telling one man's life story from Venezuela to America. Published op-eds and guest columns weekly. Interviewed on weekly television and radio appearances. And the list goes on, but I think that's enough to make people realize out there the Tea Party, even though it was attacked and vilified by the fake news media, including Hollywood,
Constantly.
And the Obama administration.
right, actual government. Lois Lerner lost that lawsuit with the Tea Party and had to pay out, I think, millions of dollars in damages to some of the groups. So the Tea Party has made a big difference, and they've done it while being attacked as a bunch of racists and so forth, which is an absolute lie.
And you know what's not in this list is that we put 40 Freedom Caucus members of the House in Congress. We did that. And you have to understand that when someone says we're dead, it's simply because the mainstream media will not report on what we're doing. So we're busy behind the scenes, under the radar, and doing these wonderful deeds.
And the reason this job is so tough is because it's absolutely normal for politicians to go to Washington, and the minute they go out of office, they either retire or they're voted out of office, they go to work as lobbyists, and they collect millions and millions of dollars in corporate fees from these people that do business with the government, and it's Republicans and Democrats doing it.
Absolutely.
Well, what has happened is the Tea Party is considered to be dead because they don't see us rallying out there all the time anymore. Well, the
alert from Microsoft
Tea Party has slightly changed.
Microsoft auto update.
Auto update. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
But the Tea Party is, well, we're ready to go to break, but I will say this.
We're under attack.
Let me say this before we go to break. You know, have you ever noticed that Donald Trump doesn't wear glasses? You know why, right?
He eats carrots.
No, because he's got 2020, man.